Welcome in, KS listeners. This is Goddess Radio, saying what you think or too afraid to say. Stand up, universe, or something, or you will fall for everything. This is a Tao reading. Beginning the journey. A tree that reaches past your embrace grows from a small seed. A structure over time, over 9 stories high, begins with a handful of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Tao Te Ching 64. How did you begin your search for peace? I began mine with political activism in the 60s. My college friends and I marched, protested, and worked for social change. For a while, I personally felt empowered by the protest. We saw ourselves on the evening news and felt we were making a difference. In time, our country even pulled out of Vietnam. But by the mid-70s, most of us were exhausted and delusioned, placing all our hopes in some distant cause. We had ignored our personal needs. Many of us even wondered who we were. So, we plunged into the human potential movement, seeking solace in encounter groups, hot tubs, body works, and colorful processions of gurus. The Maharaji, the Mahara, the Hagawan, and the Warner Inrod all sold their own brands of inner peace, blocking out the conflict around me. I went to Gestalt groups, to gurus, to physical therapies, hundreds of classes, workshops, self-help books later, and I was certified massage practitioner teaching yoga at a holistic health center in Northern California. I got my PhD in English and began my career in college teaching. My friendships, my friends and I tried very hard to be peaceful, but something was missing. The conflict remained. Wow. This is chapter 1, you guys. So, I don't know, the things that I'm reading these days seem to help open my mind. I don't know about you guys. Maybe your minds are already open. That's totally unhealthy what I'm going to eat right now. And I apologize to anybody that can smell it over the phone. Hello? Hello? Okay. Most people are still at war with themselves and one another. We run through days of competition, confrontation, and mounting frustrations driven by the fear that we're not good enough at home or on the job. Our lives are filled with stress. Our economic is troubled, our future uncertain, and the divorce rate has never been higher. Caught in a struggle between our ideals and the grim necessities, we wrestle with the conditional between what we are and what we should be. We live in the richest nation in the world, and yet we are chronically insecure and defensive. Every day assaults us with a new cries of conflict on the evening news. My personal search led me to Tao Te Ching, which offers simple yet comprehensive visions of personal and planetary peace. In the Tao, inner peace and outer peace are intrinsically related, as we are related to everything in the world. Instead of waiting for the right guru or political leader to bring us the answer, the Tao asks us to be responsible for our own lives. To follow its path is of action and completion. Through a shift of attitude, we can begin to experience greater peace right now. By seeing the larger patterns, we can take effective action, moving beyond competition to cooperate, harmonizing with the natural principles underlying all existence, from the smallest cell to the largest social organism. Self-assessment. Self-assessment. Let's begin by identifying any areas of our lives where we're not all at peace. Do any of these statements sound familiar to you? I'm not at peace in my body. It breaks down. It knots up in tension, keeps me awake at night. It aches, it limps, it gets into accidents, develops false growths, overeats, craves drugs or alcohol, feels awkward, fat, thin, old, weak, or powerless. I am not at peace with my career. It's filled with stress, tension, disappointment, problems, obnoxious people, impossible deadlines, and I feel nervous, insecure, angry, closed in, held down, trapped, fearful, and unhappy. I am not at peace in my relationships. I feel angry, resentful, jealous, fearful, anxious, insecure, bored, trapped, limited, manipulated, dominated, misunderstood, unable to communicate honestly with the people I care about. I'm not at peace with my family. I feel guilty, resentful, angry, bored, restless, exhausted, trapped, sabotaged, manipulated, overburdened with obligations. I cannot be myself with them. Hold on, folks. I gotta turn this off. It's the biggest corn-fed thing I've ever seen. When you're asking yourself these questions, I mean, seriously, how many of us have really felt like that? I know I felt like that. That's why I did dope. That's why I did drugs and alcohol. You know what I mean? I did a lot of things to not feel those ways. And then when I feel insecure about myself, I tend to overeat, over-exercise, overanalyze my life and my actions. I don't know about anybody else, but I always feel like I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not skinny enough, smart enough, nor am I intelligent enough to have the things that I truly desire. And you have to ask yourself, what is it that you truly desire? And is it within your good and best interest to desire those things? Or is it necessity that you do these things, you know? So let's go on with the assessment. It says, I am not at peace with my finances. I feel poor, anxious, resentful, limited, overwhelmed by bills and obligations. There never seems to be enough to do what I want. I'm fearful of not having enough or guilty about what I have. I am not at peace with myself. I feel frustrated, guilty, confused. My life is filled with conflict and I never do what I want. I'm afraid to try. I procrastinate. I spend all my time pleasing others. I never accomplish anything. I'm often depressed. My life is filled with compulsive working, eating, shopping, drinking, drugs. I am not good enough. They need to add sex to that too. Compulsive sex. I mean, look at the world. Nobody has relationships anymore. I'm not at peace with my world. Amen? I feel nervous, anxious, guilty, depressed. When I think about the future, I'm afraid of the criminals, fascists, communists. I have nightmares about war. And I'm afraid tomorrow because we're killing ourselves with pollution. There's nothing I can do. I hide behind cynicism and numbness. I feel powerless to change my world over or my life. Becoming a Tao person, whatever the conflict in our lives, the first step on the path of peace is to shift our attitudes. According to the Tao, what matters is not the situation, but the way we perceive it. Perception is the key. The Tao person is someone who recognizes and works with patterns of nature. Whatever our religious backgrounds or national origin, we become Tao people when we learn and think holistically, seeing our path, seeing our part in the unity of life, respecting the natural cycles within and around us. Tao people are natural problem solvers, while others often fear conflict and change. A Tao person realizes the conflict is natural, that life constantly evolves through cycles of change. Non-Tao people perceive the world through a reductive dualism that makes them, this is a good part right here, makes them cling to the status quo. Tao people realize life has many options. Creative and resourceful, they flow with change, seeing beyond problems to solve. One, with Tao, they promote greater peace in their world, resolving conflict with Tao. When we're not one with Tao, we often become defensive, turning problems into a blaming game. I've done that many a times. If they would have only listened. If I should have, I worked for years during college as a medical receptionist. One day, while at the office was filled with patients, workmen were lying the carpet in the examining rooms. The phone rang incessantly. Patients came and went. And when suddenly I smelled smoke, the workmen had gone to lunch, leaving a hot iron plugged in, burning down into the floorboard. I ran into the room, pulled the plug, set the iron upright, and returned to my desk. Then a commotion began. The doctor smelled the smoke and began shouting at the nurses, who turned and shouted at the office assistants. I watched as their faces grew red and their voices strident and defensive. "Whose fault was it?" they shrieked. "Who should have checked the examination rooms?" I wondered to myself, what difference does it make whose fault it is? Or was? The point was to solve the problem. The Tao Te Ching teaches, wise people seek solution, and the ignorant only cast blame. Tao Te Ching 79. Wow, that's cool. You know what I mean? I've been sick for quite a while, you guys, and I know I haven't broadcasted in a while. I actually haven't done anything in a while. Finding my inner peace has been a great, lengthy journey. This sabbatical of spiritual enlightenment has become daunting in some areas, I would say. In far too many conflicts, both interpersonal and international, people become so busy blaming others and defending their egos, they forget to solve the problem, which in this case was as simple as unplugging the plug. Breathe in peace. And this is really good if you can breathe. I just want to let you know that. But if you have breathing problems like me, it's immensely hard to focus, to visualize, and to see the outcome in which you want. And I know that is part of mindfulness. However, to visualize a positive outcome in a natural way is a little bit more than just being mindful. Breathe in peace. We've all been one with Tao, experienced a deep sense of peace in a meditation, communion with nature, someone we love. When was the last time you had such an experience? When confronting conflict, we can find peace within by recalling the feeling and concentrating on the breathing. Relax. Take a deep breath and say to yourself as you breathe in, I breathe in peace. I breathe out negativity. Breathe in the sense of peace and oneness. Let it flow through your body from the top of your head to your toes. And let it flow back up and out through your mouth. Breathe out the negativity of emotion, fear, confusion, insecurity, whatever is troubling you. Fear is man-made, not God-given. The Creator never created us to fear everything. The world did. Society did. So when you breathe in, I breathe in the peace and serenity. I breathe out the negative. I breathe out fear. I breathe in. Oh, let the peace, the calmness come through my body. Lord, fill me with love and joy and serenity. And I breathe out the negative, the emotions, the fear, confusion, insecurity, disillusionments. When you feel you're relaxed, affirm, I live in peace. I live in peace. Then examine the conflict. What would create greater harmony? What would a Tao person do? See yourself as that person doing whatever it is you need to do. Get a clear vision of the process and feel at peace with the outcome. Affirm to yourself again, I live in peace. I live in harmony. I live in serenity. I live in the light. With one with the universe. I live in peace. Now apply your vision and take action, drawing upon the infinite source of peace within, avoiding the false dilemma. For centuries, Taoists have seen life as the creative synthesis of two opposing forces, the yin and yang. In the Tao Te Ching, all existence is created by the dramatic opposition. All life embodies yin and embraces yang. Through their union, achieving harmony. Tao Te Ching 42. Recognizing this principle keeps us from falling into the false dilemma that narrows our choices to either right or wrong, us or them, win or lose, all or nothing. But all too often our visions is narrowed by the delusion and the dualism so pervasive in the Western culture. Our options limited by linear reductionisms, we perceive reality as two opposite points on a line. Unable to find a synthesis or consider other alternatives, non-Tao people become trapped in the false dilemma of either or. When I was a junior in college, my boyfriend offered me a marriage proposal which contained the false dilemma. He was a senior, concerned about his career. He says, if you love me, I love those. If you love me, right? He said, you will drop out of school and work so I can go to grad school. How could he ask me this? I wondered. Of course I loved him, but I wanted to go to grad school too. Did I not have a choice between love and my vocation? We argued. Love, he said, meant caring about his future, our future together. He wanted to become a college professor. You're being selfish, he said. I refused to drop out of school and was angry at him for asking me to. How could he discount my ideas? I wanted to contribute something to the world. Heartbroken, we each considered the others impossibly selfish, and we broke up. In our immaturity, we overlooked the other's options. He could have worked for a year and saved his money. He could have gone to grad school together, working part-time, getting student loans or scholarships. As it happens, we both got our PhDs. And because college professors, sometimes I see his name in the alumni bulletin. But long ago, our lives took a different direction because we were blinded by the false dilemma. I'm going to leave it there for you guys tonight and talk about how many times in one's life does it look like either this or that. And there's, in all actuality, there is a gray. But the gray only lasts for so long. Eventually, the dualism has to break. And then it becomes either black or white. Sometimes I think all the time I spent locked up, either due my own actions or because I chose to, it doesn't get any better than that. dualism, the things we put in front of our lives. I have to do this because my mom is sick and nothing's being taken care of for my little brother. But in all actuality, we could have did something different. Alright guys, this is AM Chaos Goddess. I'm saying what you think, too afraid to say. Girl heart, universe, stand up for something or you would definitely fall for everything. May God smile on you and peace be within you. Namaste.